Are tutorials on X, do they actually help you draw better, or are they just empty tips to farm likes? Well, we'll find that out in this video, as I will be testing 15 art tutorials that features different topics. But I know some of y'all are just gonna get excited after this video, bookmark, and never let them see the like again. So instead of just doing individual tests and move on, I'll use all 15 of them as a guide for an entire drawing process featuring Davinci Resolve. Let's go. So first up, because I am a good boy, I decided to use this reference for most of the composition and also to spark some ideas for storytelling. In my head, I'm seeing Reze on top pressing down this box or trash can with Davinci's hand stretched out from the box like this. And then there will be flowers you see in the movie poster, trying my best to avoid spoilers here, sprouting out from the box, and a bunch of other random stuff laying on the ground here. As I was sketching, I immediately see a few problems. This is a very underrated tip because when your perspective feels off, a lot of the times it's because things aren't lined up properly to show they sit in the space. Like here-ish, where Pochta is hanging around, these aprons as well can be adjusted to the box. But especially Reze. Right now it looks alright because everything is so loose that you don't really see the mistakes, but this part of her hand doesn't really look like she's actually grabbing the box. As well as the knees here, they don't really look like they sit very well on top of the box. And if you try to adjust any of this, it affects the whole chain all the way up here, and you end up having to change basically everything about the pose. So in the early stages, it's very important to have this figured out to save you some pain later on. Let me just take some time and scoot some of these things around. I'm always an environment first, character second guy. I know that the character is the most interesting part of the drawing usually, so people instinctively want to work on that first, but it's actually much better to establish the space first and place your character in like this. This way you figure out the perspective and camera angles based off of simple shapes like boxes, instead of trying to guess the perspective from a figure you've drawn. The next thing I want to figure out is her pose and anatomy, but before that, I want to adjust the composition based on these tips. Now for this tutorial, I can't really use these tips exactly like how it's written here, but we can extract some core ideas out of it and apply them to our drawing here. Because Reze is in the center largely and leaning towards this way, we get this natural triangle forming. So to play off of that, I want to accentuate the triangle even more by making her lean harder forward and adjust the feet a little bit so the pose looks balanced. Then I want to line these three things up so this line is more obvious. And finally, making use of these flow lines by putting a bunch of vines and blood on the floor to guide the eye through all these items. I know this looks like a lot of random scribbles now, but it'll make sense later, I swear. Now for the pose or anatomy, this is a funny one because it might look a little silly to use potatoes, but it kind of works.
What the fuck?
Since she's sitting like this, there's a lot of overlap between the torso and the hips. This is pretty common for sitting poses, like obviously you can't see what's going on here. So this is very useful for visualizing the joint placements and the proportions. I mean, if you look at how Anatomy Master 1010 teaches how to draw the body, he largely splits it into two parts like this as well. So let's actually try it this way. So this is a gimmick, obviously, but the core idea is there, and just based on my understanding, if she's trying to press down on the box, her back will be more rounded and the arms will stretch more like this as she's applying force downwards. I want the knees and the feet to look like she's swinging them as well, like this. Like imagine she's happy having captured Davinci and jumping on the box to keep him in. And after some adjusting, it looks like this, but we are not done yet. We still have 12 other tutorials to go through and several problem areas like the face and the hair to fix. But first, let me take a minute here to talk about Printful, the best print-on-demand service for artists like you and me. Especially if you're someone looking to diversify your income streams or just want to see your cute art on an actual physical product. All you need to do is design something, drag and drop it on a hoodie, a mug, or even a pillow. You don't need to worry about printing machines, packaging, or any of that boring stuff. Printful will handle all these things for you so you can just focus on what you do best. Alright, let me show you how easy this is. I just upload my art here, choose what products I want it on, and there are a ton of different stuff you can print your art on. Resize and edit the art so it fits better, and it's that easy. You can get 3D previews of the final as well, like this. Your products are high quality and they offer really competitive product pricing, not to mention up to 30% off with Printful Growth and 50% off bulk orders. That's huge if you do limited merch drops or sell at conventions. If that's not enough to convince you, you don't even have to worry about paying super expensive international shipping fees, because Printful has printing hubs stationed all across the globe so that the shipping is both fast and cheap. It doesn't matter whether you're on Etsy, Shopify, or a TikTok shop, Printful can seamlessly connect with all these platforms, so once you get an order, it goes directly to Printful and they take care of everything after that for you. You can start your own print-on-demand store today. It takes like 15 minutes to set up. Just go to printful.com or use my link below to get started. Back to the video. Yeah, this is pretty accurate because the face I drew looks exactly like the bad one here. So let's get to work and fix it. With the eyes, I guess I want to use the horizontal guidelines like this to correctly place the eyes in. And the face is tilted slightly here with Reze, not as much as the one in the tutorial. So I also want to squish the eyes just slightly because they're at an angle now. And it does look like a triangle. Those diagrams featured in the tutorial are really useful for visualizing it. Bonus time! I just want to test this one out because apparently this challenge has gone viral on X and there are so many funny ones here. I'll just put up a few on screen. What is this? I'll just put Frieren at a corner like here. So my conclusion about the Frieren challenge, it's mostly a skill issue. Let us move on. There's also this one which talks about pretty much the same things with the face, except this triangle thing here for the construction is something I haven't really seen before, so I'll give it a go here. I think it's nice, but it only helps with getting the angle of the nose bridge and also the center of the mouth as shown here. Everything else is very similar to the tutorial we've seen earlier. I also included this one because it looked interesting, even though I don't think I'll use it for this drawing. Oh, actually, I found the perfect place. I will put up a photo of Davinci here, so I'll just use this tutorial to draw his face. This is pretty cool. So you want to separate the face into sections like this and use these rough shapes to guide the anatomy later. It is harder to do than it looks though. I feel like there are a lot of unspoken mystical anatomy stuff going on here. And you might have realized by now, a lot of these are in Japanese or Korean originally, so I had to Google translate my way through most of them. Well, after a bunch of trial and error, I landed on this face for the character. I'm sure I will go back to liquefy this a million times just like usual, but I think I'm happy with this for now, so let's move on to the next crucial part. For her hair, even though we have this reference right here, sometimes for stylized stuff like this, it's quite hard to visualize how exactly we should divide the shapes. And I guess we always want to start with the big overall shapes. For Reze, the front hair is split into 3 parts like this, and the middle to back goes into a bun like this guy. This one, apparently, we follow the radial pattern that goes into a knot like this. As for the exact shapes of the hair groups, the common consensus is you should draw them as ribbons. Because of gravity here, the hair would naturally fall towards the ground like this, with some hair strands looking like they are in the process of falling as well. I think that's very important to add more details and interest around the face. This diagram here is a really good reminder because most of the time I forget that hair has volume, so it'll puff up on the head. If you always end up with hair that look like they're sticking hard to the head, or if your character look like they messed with the wrong barber, this is a good tip to keep in mind. And I think Reze's hair is not too hard to handle here. There are definitely crazier stuff out there. So I will take it and let's move on. If you're like me, I always just wing the wrinkles of the clothes I drew. I understood absolutely nothing about how the fold works. So in this tutorial, we will look into tension points and how clothing behaves under gravity. I'll try my best to follow it, but just to briefly summarize it, it's all about knowing where to stretch or pinch the clothes. For this Reze drawing though, since her clothes are pretty form-fitting, there are less opportunities to show a lot of these dynamics, but there is the apron on the ground, so maybe I can play with that. So you want to find the points of tension, which should be here and here-ish for us. Then you connect them and think about gravity. For this part, where it's sitting on the floor, I just want to remember that they will pile up on themselves themselves like this, forming this zigzag folding pattern. So after this, the drawing looks almost done. I don't like to finish my lines at this stage. Instead, I move to values and colors right away. Currently, we did 8 tutorials, which is about halfway through, but we still have this whole other half of the equation left. So let's get to it. This tutorial here is very useful for visualizing how the shading for the folds look like. Basically, you want to think about ambient occlusion here. If the fold is big, then the shadow will be weaker. If the fold is smaller and deeper, like here, then the shadows will be stronger. And this doesn't only apply to folds. You can pretty much use this principle across the entire drawing. Following this tutorial, I was thinking about big cast shadows based on the lighting scheme I came up with. I copy and pasted a thumbnail version of my initial sketch and experimented with the different lighting schemes. And yeah, this one with the top-down lighting still looked the best to me, so I'll go with it. I did have an idea halfway to have the inside of the box glowing for a secondary light source though. So this is what we have right now, and the first and biggest problem I always have is with skin. I never really know what's the right colors to use, and even if you study photos and drawings by other people, the colors are never really the same. So automatically a tutorial like this is good for basics because everybody's got a good start somewhere, but I want something that will teach me to paint skin under different conditions. And this is quite a bit of text to read through. Again, link in description, so feel free. But to oversimplify it, there's direct light and ambient light. The colors from a direct light source will affect the skin more in the lip area, whereas the colors from an ambient light source will affect the shadows more. In a more practical example though, if I wanted to put rese under a colder light source, let's say this cyan-ish color, the shadow portion of the piece would look warmer and more saturated, and vice versa. Using spheres like this to test out variations of the palette is actually really helpful. Warm versus cool color palettes are definitely the way to go, and for this drawing in particular, a desaturated top light just makes sense, especially since there is blood everywhere. I want that to stand out a little more, so most of the piece is going to be in this magenta red color coming from the box where Davinci is. And to troubleshoot your colors, this overlay method here is really interesting. Basically, you just follow the exact steps listed here, and whoa, the colors really do look better. And apparently there's also another troubleshooting step if you find your colors too close in values. You would just do a saturation layer like this and fill it with gray. This way you can quickly check if your values are okay. So now that we have a rough color sketch, it's time to go in and render all these out. I really like using the lasso tool to flesh out most of my forms, and then going back in with the smudge tool to blur out some edges. So you'll find the beginning stages of my drawing a lot more blocky, and then they transition to be a lot smoother at the end. I also do the proper outline last because I hate having to go back and forth between my layers. It's just easier to work with when I'm liquefying and adjusting the shapes. As for actual color picking, the write down and spin the wheel method here is actually a really good way to think about the color wheel. Let me demonstrate that with Rese's face here. I really want to pay more attention to how the bounce light is hitting from the box. Like in the lemon tutorial, I think this step adds that extra punch to the rendering, but how do I go about picking the specific colors for it? This is also a lot of text, but in general, you want to follow this kind of path when you're going from light to shadow. You don't really want to touch the hues too much, but if there's ambient lighting like we discussed, or in this case it's a more magenta ambient light, you can nudge the hues slightly to show that better. And finally, this neat little trick to help me check whether my color palette has been doing well or I absolutely ruined everything. It's basically telling me which parts are too desaturated or saturated by unifying the brightness of the entire thing. And it kind of feels like the canvas flip check, but for colors. And this is how my drawing of Rese from Chainsaw Man turned out. What do you guys think? Was it a flop or a massive success? Although I still need to fill in a lot of the gaps myself at times, the tutorials help me pay attention to parts that I would normally ignore. Again, for the 100th time, please do check out the amazing artists who made these tutorials in the description box. Also, I bookmarked a metric ton of tutorials while I was researching for this video, so if you want me to review more X tutorials, let me know in the comments. I might consider making a part 2. If you tried any of these tutorials out, make sure to let me know how it went for you as well in the comments. Bye!